for this call. This call is from
Pat Hoffman.
an inmate at Airway Heights Correction Center. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future call nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up. Thank you.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Mr. Hoffman. Agnes,
Hello.
how you doing? It's good to talk to you, and I do have some things I want to talk to you about. But you go first.
Yes, I just got off the phone from her, and she said that you had sent her the information about Josh and what he has been putting on the site to you and things like that. And I have some things to say in that regard to put him in his place. He seems to not want to understand that I have no animosity towards him, and he wants to act like I am the responsible one for his father's death. And I have proof that I can show you that's within the record that shows that he got killed by his fellow officer, and they tried to cover it up.
Yep. And the matter of fact, I was going to ask you how you wanted to handle this because I want to respect your wishes and I want to be fair as well. But I'm mailing you our conversation, and I can read to you some of the things he said if you care to have me read it, and or you know, however you want to handle it. I want to be respectful in this whole situation.
Well, Agnes said to me the most important parts that she had heard on the thing and had written down herself, and those things are important.
Yeah.
And I would start out this way. Number one, if I were guilty, why would I turn myself in to be proven innocent? Number two, at the time of trial, the judge who was presiding over the tribal court system viewed the whole event from start to finish and was asked by the tribal council to press charges against me and Elmer, and she refused, saying that we had done nothing wrong and that the first shots came from where the police had positioned themselves. So that is an attack. They didn't have any justification to be there.
Well, and let me quickly go back to what you said earlier. You said you turned yourself in, right, to prove your innocence. He wrote, this is Josh, yes. Josh, I guess, and I'm just gonna call him Josh. I don't know what his last name is, and you don't, you know, but he said, I have one hell of a. Here's what he wrote. He said, I have one hell of a relationship with the man that he ran to. You know, the one that brought him to the authorities. So he makes it sound as if you were brought in by somebody, but you're saying you turned yourself in. So I didn't know, you know, I wanted to get your side of the story to that.
They talked me into that.
Okay.
And Mr. Allenbach, the husband of the judge in our case, was interviewing him to write the book about Hoffman and McGinnis and the shootout, okay? He got to a point where he was talking with me, and he said that he had interviewed Mr. Epperson and had found that Mr. Epperson was an alcoholic and a drug addict, cocaine freak. And if those are the things that he wants to hear and wants to believe, that's fine. I don't care. What I know to be the truth is this, that Epperson is a cowardly type that wouldn't know the truth if it hit him in the face. I've seen him do bad things to animals, and I've seen him do bad things to his previous wife before the woman who is Josh's mother. Now, I'm quite certain that in their drunken states time and time again, they ran into that themselves. So, that being said, he needs to understand that maybe his father's death saved him from the type of abuse that his father received from his father. Because because his father was part Indian and part drunk all the time, and as a kid, Lou Millard got beatings, and that's why he became a police officer, so that he could lord it over other individuals that were Indian descent or Indian, and act like he was superior to them. Now, Josh needs to know a couple other things that nobody knows about except me and Lou Millard. One is that I confronted him over Bobby Joe Covington's death. Bobby Joe was a councilman elected that was trying to change the formats of the reservation and trying to get the tribal council to act in a lawful manner. And because of this, there were things that led to me confronting Lou Millard, asking him why there were paint marks that matched the color of the vehicle or the motorcycle that Bobby Joe was supposed to be riding on, that he smeared himself all over a clay embankment. And how could it be 20 feet up in the air unless it ricocheted off of something else?
Is Lou Millard the man's name who was killed that night?
Yes.
Okay. And is he of Indian descent as well? Is he of Indian descent just like you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but he's not enrolled, and that's one of the things that he hated. And if he was a true Indian, true at heart, it wouldn't matter what you are.
Yeah.
I'm a half-breed. I consider myself Indian over and above the Irish and the Scottish descent that I have through my background.
I got you.
I have 4 different chief lines of blood running through my veins. 2 from Elmer, 2 from my mother. And I also have royal bloodlines through the McGuinness clan in Ireland. We have a shield that's a 3-pointed at the top and a point at the bottom, and a black slash across from upper right to lower left, and there's a gauntlet on the upper right side, and there's a boar pig standing in defiance over the gauntlet above it. And that is our coat of arms. Now, with those things in mind, being the bloodline of hereditary chief and having that, would it be too far to expect that maybe that somebody was elected and wanted to do dirty deeds under the idea that they were council members and had rule over police and everybody else in the land, that they were doing the criminal actions, such as distribution of cocaine, such as taking gold off the reservation that wasn't supposed to be taken off, and having somebody like Mr. Millard, who had dealings with this and wanted out of it, all of a sudden, it's a good thing for the council to throw Mr. Millard and Mr. McGuinness into a fracas, and whoever got killed, so much the better for the tribal council, because then they didn't have to deal with them any other way. They're in the ground. And that's where that's at.
I see. Well,
the kid doesn't, the son does not understand the life that was happening back then. He doesn't understand any of that, because Mr. Epperson was part of that distribution ring. And of course he's going to feed the kid things that would make me look bad, so it makes him look good and he's all stand up and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And I've never had, Epperson was supposed to be my friend. And does a friend tell on you? Does a friend leave you in prison for 32 years and not send one written piece of paper saying, I think about you, or anything like that, he's no friend of mine.
Yeah.
If he was, he would understand the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is, he's helping the lie to be perpetuated.
Yep. Yep. You know, you mind if I read, because there's some things I'm trying to understand,
yes.
right? And I appreciate your transparency and your openness. I was trying to make the case that there's a big difference between running from the cops and conspiring to kill the cops. And I guess if I remember the story correctly, they came late at night, right? I mean, there was no reason for them to come that late at night. And, you know, you were on your property, and it's like they could have arrested you in the daytime when there was visibility. I mean, it's like, why did they even have to arrest you at all? But here's what he said. Here's what Josh said. He said he believes the FBI. He said he believes the FBI did a ballistic report. He says they never got Mount Tolman mined and probably never will. I guess, you know, because we were talking about precious metals and how the government wanted gold, I guess, that was found on the reservation. And then he says they were both involved in the same crime. They should be punished the same. He's talking about you and your father. And I said it mattered who pulled the trigger, and that you don't think you pulled the trigger or your father, but he was shot by another officer on the land. And then Josh said, it doesn't matter who pulled the trigger. I don't care if in the situation there were 10 people involved. It's all about equality. But let me also share this with you, Mr. Hoffman. He said, I said they didn't conspire to kill anybody, that you and your father was not conspiring to kill anybody. He said something about firing flares up in the air like a Vietnam movie from high ground. Anyway, he goes on to say, in the end, even if another officer killed my father, it still rests on Patrick, you, and your father. Why? Because the officers never would have been there to arrest them if not for their actions. Like I said before, my father was almost 70 miles away. I guess that would be Lou Millard. Lou Millard was almost 70 miles away when all this happened. He was with us at the county fair, but he was with the sergeant, and he got a call. It was his job, so he went. Patrick can spin it any way he wants. He's not innocent, and I'm getting sick of the race card. I don't understand the race card because I don't understand where that comes into play at all. He is always throwing out there. I don't feel sorry for him one bit. So I don't understand. I mean, it's like if he was a policeman, he knew what he signed up to do, right? He knew that it was a dangerous job. And if he is called out to your property to arrest you in the middle of the night, and another officer shoots him, how in the world could that be your fault? I mean, it's not your fault if another officer shoots Lou Millard while they're there to arrest you, and you certainly have the right to flee the police. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but people try to get away from the police all the time. That doesn't mean they're guilty of murder.
Where is the proof? Where is the warrant that says that they're there in the middle of the night at 2:30 in the morning to arrest Elmer McGinnis and Patrick Hoffman? There is none, because we did nothing wrong. They tried to claim after the fact in court that we had helped Elmer escape from a secure facility. A hospital is not a secure facility. And the jailer came on the stand after that and told the jury that the tribal police had brought Elmer McGinnis to Okanagan County Jail and left him there, dumped him off on a courtesy hold. If he's supposed to be arrested for failure to appear in court, why is he taken from the tribal court custody off the reservation to Okanagan County and held in a courtesy hold? Because the warrant that they tried to arrest him on was faulty. You cannot have a failure to appear warrant when the failure to appear is 6 days in the future.
Yeah.
That makes the warrant invalid, and it makes the arrest invalid, and it makes what they did to Elmer a brutality, and that's what they were trying to avoid.
Yeah, you thought your father
Now,
you thought your father was going to die that night, right? When your father got shot that
Yes.
night, you thought he was going to die. Yeah, that's right.
yes. And I maintained that it didn't matter whether I lived or died. I wasn't leaving him.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Where are you now, Josh? Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know the truth? Look me in the face. You'll see the truth.
Well, I'm yeah, I know.
I'm not saying what I have on my mind about his father because it's not good.
Yeah.
When I was asked by Epperson about what was there, I said, I don't know who was there. They showed me newspaper for the Spokane Chronicle and the Tribal Tribune and stuff, and they called it the Lou Millard Massacre. And how is it that we had all the information to be able to have Mr. Millard there when we didn't know that he was working anywhere but in Inchlim? Inchlim was his district. We didn't have any understanding of John Dick being there because John Dick was not a street beat officer. He was an administrative officer. He is the assistant police chief, and he decided that he was going to don a shooting vest and put on a weapon, and Mr. Millard put on a shooter's vest too. That tells me that they had expected to have a confrontation hours before we got there. Now, I'll tell you something that nobody knows in court because it wasn't talked about. When we got out of the car, 20 minutes after we got out of the car, and it was still light, John Dick drove by where we were walking down the road in a Dodge Ram. And if I had intended to kill anybody, I had my .45 strapped on my hip, and all I had to do was take it out and take aim on him and shoot him to death right there, if that was the intention for me to kill police officers, and it would have been done in the daylight. We were trying to avoid the confrontation because we did not want blood spilled. And I told Agnes, and she put it in a letter to John Dick and told him that if the truth was that we were supposed to be trying to kill police officers, then would be the time. And I know that he remembers it because he didn't have anything to say in return.
Yeah.
If I was the murdering son of a bitch that they tried to make me out to be, I've had ample opportunities in prison here to carry out that, and I wouldn't have the record that I have, which is only one fight in 32 years, and that was because they put somebody in my cell to break the lawsuit that I had going against the DOC, and this man said that he was going to put hands on the pipe carrier. We do not allow that. And nobody else stepped up, so I stepped up. And I made it my business that he's not going to be able to put hands on a pipe carrier.
I understand. And let me just share this with you quickly. Two things. One of them is the French newspaper article. I'm mailing you a copy of that, but I guess you have a copy already?
No, I haven't got that, no.
Okay, so I'm mailing...
Agnes has talked about it, and Agnes has told me the translated version of what she said.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
And told me in great detail. So
okay, I'm mailing.
Whatever you can send helps.
Well, it's only in French, and I can't read French, so I don't know if you can read French.
Yeah.
But I wanted you to see the pictures, if nothing else, and it is in black and white. Also, I'm going to encourage Josh that if he has any statements or questions, that he contact you or give a list of questions or concerns. But my concern is that he keeps pointing to the verdict of the trial. But I know that these trials are corrupt. I know that the FBI is corrupt, and I know that nobody.
30 seconds remaining.
I know that nobody gets
When
a.
you have
Go ahead.
when you you have a tribal council pay $50,000 to an organization outside the jurisdiction to convict individuals, what do you have? Do you have a fair trial?
You have guilty verdicts, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Our prayers are with you, Mr. Hoffman, and yeah, I'm going to pray that God's going to work a miracle
Yes.
this
Thank
year.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
God.
Blessings be upon you.
God bless you.